Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today we'll be talking about how your quads can be responsible for your lower back and your knee pain. We have to look at the anatomy first. So the quad attaches to the knee and it attaches to the hip. When it attaches to the knee, we're looking at knee tracking and how that would be influenced. When it attaches to the hip, we're looking at the ability for it to posterior tilt, anterior tilt, as well as internal and external rotation. So those functions are actually really important. But before that, we have to understand what joints are affected. So the pelvis is a mobile joint, so meaning that it has to move in all three planes of motion, where the knee is a stable joint, and so it has to maintain its range of motion while the mobile joint does its job. Now, these joints alternate throughout our body, and so you look at where the pelvis is at, the neighboring joints, the lower back and the knee, are stable joints. So oftentimes, if the hip isn't able to move properly, the range of motion is made up in those neighboring joints. So today we're gonna go through a couple assessments and kind of figure out where we can kind of help you out with this and finish up with an exercise that you can continuously reassess and do at home so we can fix that knee pain and the lower back pain. So the first assessment is a pelvic tilt test. This is gonna be testing the ability for your hip to go into an anterior tilt and a posterior tilt. What I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna stand on the line, feet shoulder width apart, cross your arms just like this. You're gonna hinge over to the best of your abilities. And from this position here, I want you to think about pulling your belly button in and rounding your lower back. And then you're gonna make that transition and you're gonna transfer over into what's called the anterior tilt, right? And so this is gonna create an arch in your lower back. And you're just gonna give yourself that nice transition, all the way in and all the way back out, just like this. Last one is going to be an ankle dorsiflexion test. You're gonna grab a little pad, you're gonna just have it on the ground just like this. And you're gonna just kneel down. You're gonna create a 90 degree with the front leg, a 90 degree with the back leg, and this is your starting position here. And what I want you to really focus on is, do you feel balance between left and right side? Does the knee feel like you're holding more pressure there? Do you feel like you're a little tight through the hip? Do you feel like your glutes are kind of like hiking up your hip this way? These are all things that we kind of have to look at when we are creating this assessment for ourselves. So in this position, is my body facing forward? Are my shoulders on top of my hips? Are my knees in line with my hips? So this knee in line with this hip, that knee, my back knee, kneeling knee, is in line with the hip. Is my hip, shifting over? Is it not? Is it turned? These are kind of just things I want you to kind of go through. To begin the ankle dorsiflexion assessment is that we're gonna have the knee over the ankle joint, hands on the hips, and all I want you to do is drive the knee as far forward as possible without having the heel pop off the ground. So you're gonna keep a nice firm footing on the ground, and you're gonna drive the knee as far forward as possible, right? And so when you're in this position, you might feel a little tightness through the hip flexors or the glutes or the hamstrings and things like that. We're not too concerned about that yet. It's just take that mental note, okay? So from here, if we drive the knee forward here, what we're looking for is that, can you drive your knee forward over your toe at least 3 finger lengths, okay? So you can put 3 finger lengths here. If you wanna put it like a ruler or something like that, totally fine with it, as long as that knee can pass there, right? And we're just testing the ankle joint. Is the ankle joint able to move well? So we're just gonna do that a couple times, right? Get used to the range of motion. It might get a little bit better every single time. In this position, do you feel anything in your foot? Is your foot cramping? If you can't get into this position, do you feel any blocking of the front side of your ankle, or do you just feel a crazy stretch in the back of the calf? Take these mental notes. So we're gonna do one last one here, so maybe do 4 and kind of just take that assessment in. Then from there, we'll switch sides. And from here, same as that thing, 90-90. And again, since we just switched, do they feel pretty even? How's the pressure on the knee? How's the footing feel on this left side? Is my hip hiking up? How's my torso? These are things to kind of take mental notes about. So from here, we're gonna proceed into this left side here. Knee is over the ankle joint. As we drive the knee forward, do I have the ability to go 3 finger lengths in front of my toe? Yeah. And so if you don't, assess the situation. Is there any cramping in the foot? Is the restriction in the back side of the calf, or is it in the front of the ankle? Do you feel blocking inside the front of the ankle? Right? Do you feel your hip cramp up as you drive forward? So when you're finished with this, you can stand up and we'll move into our next segment. We're gonna actually break down what the assessment means for you. The very first assessment was a pelvic tilt test. And what that is that we're just trying to see if your pelvis moves well, right? The pelvis moves in front, which is an anterior tilt. You wanna think about like a bucket of water, for example. You're trying to pour the water in front of you. You're trying to get into an anterior tilt here. If you wanted to pour the water behind you, it's called a posterior tilt. So you're gonna kind of pour the water behind you just like that. And these two ranges of motion are super, super important because this is what we do on a daily basis. We actually move weight in front of us and we move weight behind us. And so a lot of times, if you do not have the ability to anterior tilt or posterior tilt, it can actually create this compensation pattern above us or below us. For example, in a generalized standpoint, if you cannot anterior tilt, you most likely make it up into your lumbar spine, meaning that if you can't do this, you're gonna do this. Right? And a lot of times that's what you see. You'll see a lot of individuals, they'll have this crazy arch in their lower back and their chest will be nice and extended. This will always cause a lot of issues because once you're stuck in the anterior tilt, it's very difficult. It feels like a whole universe away where you need to go into a posterior tilt. And typically that's what creates a lot of tension in the lower back. And especially, we're not even talking about sports yet. Imagine you're like this and you just start rotating, boom, back's gonna pull. The second part is actually a posterior tilt, and the posterior tilt is super important because it allows the hip to move weight behind us, right? It's a super sexy way of, do you have the ability to flatten out your spine and be able to stay more upright? For an individual who has a hard time posterior tilting, they will oftentimes soften their knees so they can stay upright. But oftentimes what they end up compensating with is that the upper body will end up kind of rounding this way. And so this is a typical posture with someone who doesn't have the ability to posterior tilt correctly, right? This is what a posterior tilt feels like versus them standing nice and upright and being able to have the ability to move their hip into anterior and posterior tilt. An ankle dorsiflexion test. This is super important because we want to make sure that we have proper range of motion when it comes to the ankle, especially when we start incorporating anything that is knee dominant. A lot of times, like for us to really engage the quads, we actually have to learn how to move below the quad so we can set ourselves up to activate the quads efficiently. If you do not have the ability to drive the knee forward and set it up in a good position, you'll never be able to hit the quad properly. And especially if you're not able to hit the quad properly, then you're not able to hit the glutes and hamstrings. So let's apply all of what we've learned so far into an exercise. One of my favorite exercises to engage the quad is what's called a B stance split squat. And so the B stance is actually just where the toe is in line with the heel. In this position, this is one of my favorite positions because it forces everything to move in synchronization. Your upper body has to be stacked on top of your pelvis. Your pelvis has to be balanced between left and right side. The knees have to be tracking. The ankles have to be moving. Pressure in the feet have to be correct. The back leg that's stabilizing you, there needs to be, even distribution between left side and right side. And so it's one of my favorite exercises. I'm going to show you the 4 levels in which we can perform these. The first one's gonna be the easiest. So you're gonna find a box. I'm actually gonna put this on top, and this should be somewhere around knee height. This is by far gonna be the easiest version. So this is what I would recommend starting off with. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually line your foot up to the edge of the box, just like this. And then we're actually gonna set up the other foot in line with the heel of the foot that's in front. And so I ideally would love everyone to progress this to the point where they're going to be starting off standing. But since it's going to be your first time, I would always recommend sitting down. And so when you sit down, you can kind of see it from this point of view. My left butt cheek, my left leg is on the pad. My right butt cheek is just on the ground. It's not making contact with us. The reason why this is important is actually because we're not depending so much on this right leg to push off or anything like that. It's actually so we don't fall over to the right side. If I take my right leg off the ground, guess what? I'm gonna fall over to the right side. So this is just acting as like a tripod so we don't fall over. However, it is also going to help us align the hip. Even though we're kind of focusing on the left leg here, this right leg is extremely important to set the proper position for a torso. In this side position from this view here, you want the hips in line with each other. And the way the hips are going to be in line with each other is actually by this knee moving forward more. And so oftentimes I always say that the knee will be in front of this knee. From this position, chest is going to be up, and I want you to feel the hip flexor and the quads already activated. You can kind of see when I push into the ground, you can see the muscle engage. I'm going to slide this leg back. Position is important because we want to make sure, depending on the person's limb length, that you're loaded into the foot. If you're too far back, there's no way you're going to be able to push into the quad. You can kind of see it's actually very difficult for me to push. And if I do push, I'm actually going to fall backwards. Take your time and try to find a position where the knee is going to be somewhere around the toes where you can engage that quad. And from that position, let's bring the other foot in, chest up nice and tall. Hips are gonna be in line with each other by keeping this knee in front, hands in front. I'll start over here so you can see, as I push into the left leg, my torso does not lurch forward. That's probably the reason why your lower back hurts. It's because the quad is weak and you have to depend on this movement to get up. The big thing that we see from the front view is actually a hip drop happening. And a lot of times this will take away tension from the quad, the glutes, and the hamstrings of the lead leg. And the main reason why this happens is actually because the hip is above the knee joint. And it's very common for us to depend on the other leg for balance. But that kind of takes away the point of the B stance split squat. We want to be able to engage the quad in order for us to understand and control the pelvis and the knee. So from this position, we want to make sure that the majority of the weight is in the front leg here. The right leg here, or the left leg when we perform it on the other side, is a stabilizing leg so we don't fall over this way or the other way. And so from this position here, we want to load into this quad here, hands in front. You're going to exhale on the way up and back down, just like that. Level 2. Actually, I just took off the pad, hence level 2. So it's going to be the same exact thing here. It's going to be a little lower. You'll notice that as you get a little lower, the only challenge is actually understanding pelvic position. And this is why the pelvic tilt test was so important. Do you have the ability to move the hip forward? This is technically a seated anterior tilt. See? You're trying to move that hip forward. And you'll notice that the hip flexor on the leg that's in front will engage, the quads will engage. Now for level 2, we're not really too concerned of how the hips are actually set because we're getting closer and closer to the hip being in line with the knee. The big concern here is actually how much further the knee needs to be in front, because as we get down, we actually demand more from the hips, therefore demanding more from the knee driving forward. It's not about how the tripod knee is set, it's actually how far the knee is in front of the ankle in order for us to engage the quad. So in this case, we want to make sure that the knee is slightly in front of the toes, heels planted on the ground, and from this position, hands in front, up, and then back down. Remember, this leg is going to be really important. We just don't want it to come down and then open up like that, okay? Back up. We just don't want it to open up like this, right? I'm over exaggerating so you can see it. Repeat that, bring the foot back in check here, arms in front, same exact thing. We're not looking for one of these. Control it, nice and tall, control the pelvis, push into the left leg, arms stay straight, and push, up, and back down. Up, at the top here, unlock the knees, and then this knee will dictate pelvis position. Right there, okay? So, and we're gonna push off, stand up nice and tall, and return back to that bottom position. Level 3 from the front view is very important because it challenges knee tracking. And this is really important because if you do have any shearing and instability through the knee, this is probably where it's gonna be exposed. And the reason why this is actually because the hip joint is actually below the knee joint here. It's going to challenge ankle mobility, it's going to challenge knee stability, it's also going to challenge hip mobility. And so all of these have to synchronize to keep the torso upright while we perform this exercise. The more that we drive the tripod leg forward, the more internal rotation we get into the lead leg. The more internal rotation with the lead leg, the more we can activate the quads in order for us to stabilize the torso. And so a lot of times, like when we're trying to focus on this position, most people are already starting to lean to this left side because they're lower, closer to the ground. So in this position, what we're really focused on is making sure, number one, the heel's off the ground. The heel off the ground allows us a lot more mobility through the right hip, and also it allows the knee to track forward. If that happens, we can guarantee that we're gonna move through the left hip. But if you allow this leg to open up, the hip's gonna open up and it's gonna get into external rotation of the lead leg. So when we are ready to begin the motion, I'm gonna take this right leg, the tripod leg, drive it as far forward as possible. You will feel the hip flexor engage, and that's when you know you're about to begin. From this position, just like level 2, we're gonna engage the quad by letting the knee move forward over the toes. Make sure the heel is flat against the ground, the pressure is in the balls of your feet, torso is gonna be upright. And so from this position, the main thing I don't want you to do is actually use your hands to collapse the torso, to use the torso as a momentum mechanism to get your body up. We wanna make sure the hands are in front, you're engaging the hip flexor, the knee is in front of the left knee, you're gonna hold this position, you're gonna exhale on the way up, torso stays upright. You're gonna go 1, 2, and 3. And as you unlock the left knee, you'll notice that the right knee will track forward, and you'll notice I'll be able to internally rotate through this left hip. And you'll notice that the knee will track perfectly in line with the hip joint. It's very common for people to actually rotate their body and actually track the knee inwards this way. So that's kind of the reason why this level 3 is so important, is actually because it allows you to understand knee tracking. You'll notice that when people collapse the tripod leg, the knee will rotate outwards and the knee wants to track that way. And we also know that's not good as well. So ideally in this position, we want to make sure the hip, the knee, and the foot are aligned with each other. So as you perform this motion, you're gonna unlock the knee and ask yourself, am I loading my hip, my knee, and my ankle correctly? And so you can do these checkpoints all the way up and all the way down. Just like that, okay? If you're having trouble with level 3, what I recommend is grabbing a little pad here and resting your leg on top of it to ensure that the knee is in front of this other leg. From this position, you can extend your arms in front of you here and push through the left leg and extend your body up towards the sky, and then repeat that all the way back down. Level 4 from the front view is a combination of all of them. And so a lot of times it is the last step to coordinate all of the things that you've just learned in level 1, level 2, level 3. So you're gonna take your stance, foot on the line or wherever you wanna do, and then the other foot will be in line with the heel. This whole time I have not talked about the stance. And the main reason why is actually because you have something to keep you stable. You're on a box, you're on a bench, you're on something. But now since you're standing, ideally it's a little bit more difficult because there's nothing locking your hip in place. And so now you could, if you really wanted to, you could actually rotate like this. And that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is actually to get you aligned. And so for us, alignment looks like the feet are gonna be in line with the knees, they're gonna be in line with the hips. So if you draw a straight line down, that's where balance is gonna be, right? So for the next video, we're gonna actually talk about how the shoulders integrate with that, right? But for now, we're gonna go hip, knee, foot, foot, knee, hip, just like that. So for me, this is what it looks like. And so I always say in this position, I want the weight into the balls of your feet, right? Even between outside and inside edge. From that position, where's your knee at? If you have a mirror in front of you or you have a camera in front of you, is the knee pointing straight? Before we even begin, from this position, if you had a belt buckle on, is the belt buckle pointing straight? We want to make sure all these checkpoints are set before we actually begin the range of motion. Because if one of these things are off, it's going to create inconsistency within that range of motion. So I'm ready to begin. So here we are. We have the foot pressure in the toes and the balls of your feet. We have the knees that straight. We have the belt buckle in front of us here. I believe we're ready to begin. Hands out in front of you here. Now I'm going to unlock my left knee first. And you'll notice as I bend the left knee, which is my lead leg, my right knee also bends, because what we're trying to look for is an even pelvis from the front view. If you notice, if you bend my left knee first and I don't bend my right knee, look what happens. My tripod leg hikes up my right hip, and that's not what we want either, right? So from this position, we want to make sure that we bend the left knee, but as a result of that, the tripod leg is going to bend. So you're going to be here, unlock the knee, and you'll notice that the knee will bend as well. Number 2, on the way down, is my knee tracking in line with my toe, right? We don't want this, we don't want this. Control the way down, right? Is the knee pointing straight in line with my toe? So as you come down, you should feel that. As well as you should feel the hip internally rotating inside the capsule itself. As you hit where the hip is in line with the knee joint, the right knee should start taking over where it's going to start driving forward. And that's where you notice that the heel will kind of lift up a little bit more. And then you're going to safely bring yourself down into the ending position here. And this is where it's a little bit more difficult, is that are you aligned in the range of motion, at the bottom end of range of motion? Toe, ankle, knee, hip. We don't want any of this. We don't want any of this. Keep it as simple as possible. Make sure all of this here is in the column. From this position, same exact thing on the way up. You're gonna exhale, you're gonna push up, make sure the knee stays in line with the toe and the hip. And we'll bring it back down, nice and slow. Unlock the knee. load into the hip, allow the right knee to move forward, and that's level 4. If I take this band and I simulate it as a quad muscle, and I have the attachment point to the knee and to the hip. So you'll notice that in this position here, if we shorten that muscle, there's 2 things that are gonna happen. The knee's gonna come up, or the pelvis is gonna come down. Right? It could actually do a little bit of both. And it will show up like this. And so a lot of times, do you have the ability and the strength to eccentrically load the quad in this position? It's gonna demand a lot from the knee, and it's gonna demand a lot from the hip. The hip position is gonna be dictated by how long this muscle is. So you'll notice that in this position here, eccentrically, if you do not have the strength in the quad, the hip's gonna hike up and it's gonna shorten. And in this position, I feel my hamstrings a lot because I'm in an anterior tilt. The hamstrings and the quad should be able to move together. They're neighbors. So when one shortens, the other one lengthens, and when the other one shortens, the other one lengthens. And so a lot of times, if you do not have the strength for this here, it will shorten and it'll pull through here, and after that range of motion happens, there's no more. So guess what? It's gonna go through the lower back. So a lot of times when we lose the mobility of their hips, the range of motion needs to be made up either by the knee or by the lower back. So this is kind of the breakdown between the pelvis and the knee, and how these things kind of play a big role when it comes to lower back pain and the knee pain. I almost forgot that the rep ranges that you want to aim for is somewhere between 12 to 15 reps for 3 to 4 sets. Give that a try. I'll see you next time. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to our channel.